You might be wondering, why are we outside someone's home? Well, that someone is Kevin Lynch. He's the founder and publisher of SouthBaltimore.com. He's got so much news, information, and great insights to share about our wonderful community. So let's go in and learn all about it. As a busy mom, realtor, and someone who just likes to have fun, I'm always on the go around Baltimore. Whether you're new to the area or you've lived here your whole life, I want to show you my favorite places to eat, play, and live around 2 and 230. I'm Allie Hudler with Compass, and this is the 2 and 230 show. Hi, Kevin.
Hey, welcome.
Thanks so much for having me in your home today.
Of course.
I'm really excited to be here, get to know you, and more about SouthBaltimore.com. So, should we have a seat?
Yeah, sounds good.
Awesome, thank you. So Kevin, for those who maybe haven't been on your website, tell us about SouthBaltimore.com.
Sure, we try to be the news source of South Baltimore, whatever's going on that's relevant and exciting and impacting people's lives. That's what I try to cover on SouthBaltimore.com.
Yeah.
Really, a lot of our biggest stories are about small businesses, retail and restaurants, real estate developments, what events are going on in the community, and a little bit of stuff with like crime and politics. But really just whatever makes living in South Baltimore what people love so much, that's what we try to stay on top of.
Yes, well, I think you do an amazing job of that, so thank
you
you for all of your hard work. Tell us how did this come up? When did you get started, and what was your inspiration behind the website?
Sure, so I've always been in the media business. I had a background in television and video production, and always really wanted to kind of be an entrepreneur in that space. I always wanted my own publication or my own show or something where I could kind of let my creative juices and kind of go in a direction of coverage that I want. And so I was living in South Baltimore, and I found myself just so curious about everything going on in the neighborhood, what's getting built here, what's opening in that storefront. Had so many questions about the area, and I would look on all kinds of different message boards and websites, and I just couldn't find the information I wanted about South Baltimore anywhere. And there was starting to be a trend of these kind of hyper-local websites and blogs around the country. So I actually reached out to one of them that was called Patch at the time, and I was like, hey, you ever thought about starting a website in South Baltimore? And I didn't hear back, and I was like, you know what, I'll just do it myself. I'm gonna start a website about South Baltimore, and figured out how to build a website on WordPress, and spent maybe a couple $100 getting the site going, and started publishing articles, and right away the feedback was just incredible. I realized I wasn't the only person who had these curiosities about everything going on in South Baltimore, and quickly it became popular and became something very rewarding.
Yes, good. I'm so happy to hear that.
Thank you.
What would, speaking of being rewarding, what would you say is the most rewarding part?
I think just meeting people. I'm a people person. I'm also a small business owner myself, so to get to meet so many different small business owners and see what motivates them and see what inspires them and learn about how they get through the tough times of being a small business owner is so cool to me. I think every small business owner is one of the heroes of our economies and our culture, so I love meeting all the small business owners and just meeting all kinds of different people. I get to meet people involved with schools, people involved with events, everyday people, and it's just I love this area, and it's really the people that make it great, the small business owners that make it great, and there's a lot of fun stuff to do as well. So just kind of being in the know and getting to meet a lot of people, I think, is the best part.
I love that, absolutely, and that's kind of why I'm here too, because I like doing the same thing. And I always tell people, getting to know those owners and their stories is really something. So that's amazing.
Because everybody that ever started a small business had to take a risk. You know?
Absolutely.
And not everyone's got their role in society, and every role is super important, but it's a little scary to take those risks. And for the people who did it and succeeded and keep grinding, and we've had some strange economies the last handful of years, to say the least, and to see the people that are pushing through it and keeping going, it inspires me, and I think it inspires a lot of people.
That's amazing. And how many years have you been doing this now?
We'll be 12 years in February, so
wow.
I can't believe that, because once you get a little bit older, time just flies, especially once you start having kids. So 12 years. In some ways, it feels like I started it just a few years ago, but luckily it's the feedback and the support we get from the community that motivates me to keep it going.
Yeah. And where do you, obviously you're out and about all the time, but where do you figure, or where do you find out where you want your next story or publication to be about?
Sure, I guess I've kind of built a network of feeding me the stories that are relevant for southbmore.com. But a lot of times just taking a drive, like I have a good keen eye to notice when things are different. And a lot of times I'll be driving and I'll say to my wife, Christine, I'm like, you got to jot this down. I just saw like brown paper up in the wall of a storefront, or I see a zoning sign, or I see they're finally demolishing that building. So really just driving around, looking around, taking the dog for walks. I see a lot of things. I follow everybody that I need to follow on social media. I've got a lot of friends and contacts in kind of important sectors that I cover, so I can send somebody a text or send somebody an email to try to get some information. And a lot of people just kind of come to me. They know, southbmore.com wants to cover a lot of these stories, and people will send me tips, send me info. I get a lot of press releases, so it's really a combination of different things. And luckily, doing it 12 years now, I kind of have a good sense of what events I need to be at and what events I can just kind of talk to the people, on the phone and get it instead. So it's kind of a variety of different things, but luckily I've kind of built a good system for it at this point.
That's great. Now, do you have anybody helping you with any of this?
I have a guy, Nate Carper, who helps me on the sales end. So really what keeps the website going is advertising and sponsored content and stuff like that. So my wife, Christine Lynch, is very good at grammar and writing and all that stuff. So she edits all of our articles to make sure that not only are they grammatically correct, but I'm also not sticking my foot in my mouth. So so she's very important to make sure that on a PR side, we're in good standing with the community. And
good job, Christine.
And other than that, just all the all the people making things happen in South Baltimore feed what we're doing. So I'm appreciative to all those people.
That's great. Do you have any favorite, most memorable stories of the last 12 years? I'm sure there's so many.
Yeah, sure.
A handful, but.
So one of the stories that went super viral was Cam Newton, who was the NFL MVP at the time. Randomly dropped by to play beach volleyball at Baltimore Beach at Rash Field in the Inner Harbor. And it happened to be the night that I played on Monday nights. And for the first time ever, my son, who was 6 months old at the time, came down with Christine and watched me play that day. And so Cam Newton came down and was playing and saw our 6 months old son is like, can I hold that baby? And so we got a picture of Cam Newton with our kid, which I did not put in the article, but I got all these pictures of Cam Newton just coming down to Baltimore Beach and playing volleyball with all these people down there. And put out an article about it, and every single national sports media you could think of contacted me within the next couple days, wanting my pictures, wanting to talk to me, wanting to hear more about it, because Cam Newton's an interesting guy where his media persona is kind of harsh and he wasn't super friendly to the media, but there were these stories about how in the community he was like a very cool, normal, affable guy. So it was really an interesting story for a lot of people, and it was really cool for all the people playing volleyball, because all of a sudden you're playing volleyball with your typical friends on a Monday night, and all of a sudden you're playing volleyball against Cam Newton and his teammates from the Panthers. So it wasn't just him, it was kind of his whole passing camp that came down to play. So that was a cool story for sure.
That's awesome. Very cool. I'm a volleyball player myself, so that would have been really awesome.
And they weren't natural volleyball players, but they were some of the best athletes in the world. So they
that's okay.
They made some plays out there.
Oh my gosh, that's so fun. How did they end up there?
So Cam Newton maybe still is an Under Armour athlete. And he was really the peak of his career at that point. So every year he would do a passing camp with the receivers and tight ends from the Carolina Panthers through some kind of Under Armour facility. So it'd either be, I think they did some stuff at Banner Field one time. Kevin Plank has Sagamore Farm, where he has a field just for some of their athletes to practice, so they would go there. So it was just kind of a good a good getaway to come once a year to do a passing camp, and it was Baltimore.
Well, Kevin, what do you envision for the future of southbmore.com? Do you want to keep it rolling? Is there anything? I know you guys started your podcast, right? So tell us more about that.
Unfortunately, 12 years in, I was just looking at an article written about me 10 years ago. And my goal is still the same, and I haven't gotten to that goal yet. But I would eventually like to cover more than just South Baltimore, whether that's I would love to, my first goal would be to extend into Southeast Baltimore, cover things going on in Canton and Harbor East and Highlandtown and Greektown and neighborhoods like that. And haven't figured out the format or design or funding to do something like that. But that's kind of always been the long-term goal. But we have a podcast right now, which is cool. our content, I've kind of figured out what content people like, so we kind of
Sure.
keep that going. We have a new business directory which we rolled out, which I hope will be, kind of popular with different businesses where they can put their
Yeah.
coupons and events
Nice.
and kind of promote themselves as kind of the pillar of certain industries in this neighborhood. So we're just kind of always trying different things. It's definitely a weird industry. It's a business where you put your work out there for free, create an audience, then try to make money off that audience. So it's definitely an interesting thing to figure out, and I could talk for hours about how people are trying to tackle that challenge.
Sure.
But it's a fun challenge, and whether things are going great or okay on a business end, meeting so many cool people in South Baltimore and covering so many great things and living in a great area like this makes it all worth it.
Yes, absolutely. Well, I know it's been fun living just not even a block away from you for a while. So what is your favorite part of Locust Point? I know you said the people. Is that it? Or is there anything else that you would want to put out there?
Yes, I think a lot of people in a lot of places can say the people, but a cool thing about Locust Point is like you talk about alley life, where people will like spill out into their alleys and have happy hours, or like a wiffle ball game will break out, where like it's not an area where you have to put a lot of work into having a social life. Where like I know in some areas you got to make plans and you spend weeks making those plans. There's times where I just step outside my garage.
Yeah.
Somebody else is out there. 2 hours later, we're conversing, we're having a few drinks, we're having a good time. So I like the ease and kind of socializing and having plans, and then, having young boys that are really into sports, being 2 blocks from like a turf stadium is super cool. We have such a great Little League down here, which I've gotten involved in. That's really cool. And then I am a super big Orioles and Ravens fan. So to live in an area where I could either walk or take a short ride to those games is just a dream come true for somebody like me. Because, there's only a couple other neighborhoods in the country where you can walk to Orioles and Ravens games. We get to live in one of them.
Yep.
I love that.
I know. It's an amazing city. The vibe, especially in the fall, to me, just Locust Point in the fall, or just the city in general.
Yeah.
So you still have Orioles playoffs, you've got Ravens games. It's just so amazing. I love it here too.
And all the good restaurants too, I gotta say too. There's to be able to walk to have a drink or a meal is really cool. It takes a lot of the effort out of the equation.
It does. Well, and if you're not going out too, you've got your pizza.
That's right, yeah. So one of my big hobbies besides working is making pizza. Every Friday night at the Lynch house is pizza night.
Yep.
And that's
it's delicious. It's so good. I've
Thank
had
you.
some.
And good thing about making pizza is I think pizza is kind of like the ultimate comfort food. So everybody, if you're known as a pizza maker, everybody wants to try your pizza. And me being somebody who loves to have friends and get together and have a good time, it's almost like a constant waiting list. They're like, when are we doing pizza? When are we doing pizza? So we do a lot of pizza nights with just me and my nuclear family, but we also do a lot of pizza nights where we're inviting over friends.
Yep.
I do an event every year where I have pizza out in the alley. So I like that it brings people together.
Yeah.
I like to be with people and bring smiles to people's faces and eat good food. And I think a lot of people have the same feeling about pizza. So it's
absolutely
it's a food that brings people together, and it's also it's a good thing for a perfectionist like me who constantly wants to tinker with things and make things better, and pizza can always be 1% better, so I like that too.
Yeah. Well, I think it's already delicious. I'm not very picky, so
Thank you.
Good for you for striving for more. That's awesome. Well, Kevin, anything else that you'd want to share with the world and everybody about southbmore.com?
I guess I would just say I'm very appreciative to all the visitors we have to our site, all the positive feedback I get when I'm around the community or via email, whatever. I appreciate that a lot. And it's really, this website couldn't work everywhere. It has to work in an area with a vibrant small business community and main streets and social people and a community that has a real estate market that feels like it's in demand a lot of times.
Sure.
So really, you kind of need all those things. Because what I want to do is, I don't want to be a journalist that's out there talking about what's wrong with society. Sometimes I have to do that. I really have a passion in covering stories that are right with society.
Right.
Luckily, this is an area where I can do that. There are some faults in this area, but there's so much good going on. And to be able to cover that, to be able to kind of put that out there and maybe have a small part in improving the image of Baltimore is awesome. And it's the people that make things happen in South Baltimore that make that possible for a site like ours.
Yeah. Well, you're doing an amazing job, Kevin.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
And everybody around here loves it. And yeah, it's a source for news and what's going on. So keep it up. 12 years. I can't believe that. It's amazing.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, crazy.
Way to go. Awesome. Well, where can, obviously southbmore.com, but where else, like what are your social channels? How can people find you if they want to start following and checking in on you, and even pizza?
Sure, so everything will link through our site, but we have a Facebook page that gets vibrant sometimes, and we have an Instagram page that I need to update more often.
Sure.
We're on Twitter. I could say the same about that. We have our new podcast, which I do with Nate Carper, who also helps us out with sales. He's an incredible audio editor and podcast producer, so we have that, and we've really been gearing that up a bit. And if you want to follow my pizza creations, I have a pizza channel I have a channel on YouTube called Pizza Channel, very creative name there. And then you can follow me on Instagram as well. I put a lot of my pizza creations up on Instagram. It's Pizza Channel Kevin. And no, I don't eat pizza every day, even though my Instagram channel makes it look that way. I just happen to have a large family and a lot of people over for pizza all the time, and I can extend those pies out throughout weeks and weeks and weeks. So, so if you like to look at pizzas you can't have, which strangely a lot of people do, you can go right to my Instagram page. And then you can start bugging me about getting the real thing.
That's awesome. So fun. Well, Kevin, thank you so much for your time, and again for all that you do. And hopefully people will get out there and start following and just support the website and you, and keep it up. So thanks again.
You're welcome, and I appreciate the interest in talking about southbmore.com.
Of course, absolutely. Thank you.